Howdy.
Morning.
Well,
Morning, partner.
this might be a little long today. We had a request. A request.
You love requests.
Yes, what was the request on?
Power play, exchange of power.
Power play, power exchange.
Power exchange. That's
Who
what
requested it?
I'm not saying.
Because you're dirty. All right.
They know. They know.
Okay, so this is maybe long and I may go in depth. It's not going to be too graphic, but there are things that you have to have in place before you play kinky wise of power exchange.
Okay, maybe you need to identify, because I know you're kind of running with this, but I'm going to jump in occasionally, and because even though you say we do this in our marriage a lot, I'm not completely familiar with the term power exchange. I kind of get the concept, but maybe you can explain it a little bit more.
Okay, I thought you were going to give the definition, but I will give the definition.
You need to look it up in the show notes.
Yeah, in the show notes.
Maybe you should have had notes.
Yeah, maybe you should have. She doesn't prepare.
You said this was
all.
your...
All right.
This was your
Power
department.
exchange or power play would be usually the opposite of how your intimate time is. I feel like I need to scoot down a little bit.
You need to get back.
I'll just sit in this chair.
But then you're going to be like way down there.
Yeah, really.
That's going to look weird.
All right, see, now we're the same height. Okay, so
We're not now.
I'll just squat the entire time. Anyways, so
I'm feeling weird.
right, but
I need to get in the
eye
chair.
contact. All right, so show the chair. Okay, so usually when you make love, one of you are going to be
boost your seat.
a little more. She'll figure out this chair thing, and I'll talk. Usually a little more in control than the other. So a power exchange is basically that. So one person is yielding control over to another. Kink or BDSM would call this dominant, submissive. And you could, if you really want to do it, you can have a whole lifestyle of dominant and submissive. But that's usually it. So in the bedroom, power exchange would be, for example, me being the guy, I'm naturally going to be more dominant in the bedroom. Aggressive, controlling of how everything kind of goes. Most of the time, women just lay there and don't do it. I'm just joking. But, but it's that, of doing the opposite. So if I'm in more of control 90% of the times when we make love, then if we have a power exchange, then at that point, she would be in control of the entire playtime. I'm just going to say playtime rather than sexual experience. So that would be a power exchange. So you are giving up and yielding the power that you have and giving that control over to another person. Now, before I say, hey, give up control to your spouse, there needs to be huge amounts of conversation that happened before this.
Big time.
You have to have a conversation about safe words. You should have a safe word. You both should know what it is, and you should have been using this effectively. You have to have a conversation about what power exchange really looks like.
Is it different than role reversal?
Not really. Well, see, when you go into a role reversal, then yes, it's different than role reversal, because that role reversal is a whole another thing. Because usually, if you talk about role reversal, then I have the role of a man, and me reversing my roles would be me acting like a woman. Not power exchange, which would be yielding.
Like you said, control,
power. Which would be submission, and dominance would be more of the opposite of power exchange.
And so you're not talking about beating or being, horrible to each other. You're not talking about any of that.
Nope.
Because this can happen in an extremely loving environment, very gracious, very fun way that you both can really have fun with. Usually,
power exchange is done based on who the passionate one is. So, for example, if we've been separate and abstaining for a week, then I will naturally take all of the control and take my wife. And it might be the opposite way around. If your wife is more into sex than the husband, then the same thing. Her passions will take over, and then she will just take her husband. That's a light version of power exchange. At that point, you realize that your husband or your wife
it's consensual.
It's consensual,
Absolutely.
but they're like, wow, you're really into this and you're going to town and I'm here just chilling and this all feels great. you are yielding control and you're yielding the power over to the other person. So that's, in an essence, of what power exchange is. You have done this in your marriage if you've been married for a certain amount of time. Even on your honeymoon night, that could be that way if you abstained until being married. Good for you if you did. So that's the whole entire thing, where one person is really, really passionate and then wants to take the other person, then the other person yields so that they can be taken, would be a great example of what power exchange is. Now, the taking part is what needs to be discussed throughout the entire thing. For example, spanking. If she likes spanking and we're doing power exchange, then at that point, I would know that that's acceptable. Right. Other sexual acts and everything else need to be discussed before you do a power exchange, because,
Absolutely.
For example, if we reverse it, if we play a power exchange and she's in control and I am not, then she's going to have to know how far she can go with my body.
Comfortable and
that's consensual.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the biggest part. It all has to be consensual.
Absolutely.
She needs to know the limit of what my body and I can handle. And then at that point, that's where the safe word comes in. I particularly don't like spanking that much. So she'll, in that instance, want to hit me. And at times I'll say, spank. And then at times I'll say, that's okay, that's not okay. I'll use red, yellow, green. Green, it's fine. And it might just be the mood that I'm in. I might be in the mood that, go ahead and spank me. And the other next day I might be in the mood that, don't touch me that way.
But enough conversation also tells you that you can try these things during your lovemaking and not have it shut down everything completely. I think that's a big deal, because sometimes in the middle of it, if something happens, women can be turned off just like that, and men it could go away. And you're like, well, this isn't where we were going with this. So I mean, that's why Tim says a ton of conversation really, really helps with this.
Yeah. And this isn't something that you try. I would say most sex acts, you don't just try once and go, that's it, I'm never going to do that again, because there's so much that happens with your body doing anything like a power exchange. If your brain just isn't into it, and this is the biggest sex organ you have, and it just might be getting close to being that time of the month or hormonal with a woman,
like this,
right?
He's stressed at work,
right?
Of that, like, this just didn't work for me. Let's try this another time, rather than, no, that didn't work. That's it. Blah blah blah. I mean, obviously, there's things, if it hurts, if something is damaging to you, that's a clear no. But you also never know that maybe in a later time it won't be harmful or it won't hurt. Who knows? Who knows? It depends on what it is. You never know.
Right. So a lot of what my advice is with power exchange is to start really, really light. And I would say a very good way to start really light would be to tie each other up. Again, a lot of trust.
I don't know if that's light.
That's light.
To some people, that's not light.
A lot of trust and a lot of communication, and safe words are there, but just the fact of submitting to be tied up, and then just tie up your partner and have sex like you normally would. That's technically a light version of power exchange, and then you can kind of keep going deeper the more that you like it. But that's the whole entire essence of it, is that it really requires a whole lot of conversation beforehand. You need to know what's okay with your partner's body, what things you can and cannot do. You need to know all of that before you say, hey, I'm going to be in control of the night and you're going to submit to me and we're going to have fun. It doesn't work.
No.
That's failure. Really, really quickly.
That shuts off the wall. That shuts everything down.
Yeah. This isn't a demanding thing. It's more of a,
it is enjoying each other, I think, in different and new ways.
Yes, it is.
That's, I think, the fun part of it.
Sex should be fun and enjoyable.
Yeah.
So you are in the privacy of your own bedroom with your spouse, and you want to make it fun and enjoyable. So just kind of think of your two kids out in the backyard playing, and this is some game that we're going to come up with, and we're going to talk about how the game is played before we start playing. The same exact thing in the bedroom. Okay. Talk about how the game is played before you start playing, and then go on from that point. So, what? Okay.
I just have something to say.
Go ahead and say it.
But I also think you've only been talking about the bedroom. There's power exchanges in marriage that happen all the time, and they're a good thing. They're a blessing, because there are some things I'm better at than he is, and there's things that he's better at than I am. And I think this goes with last week's video. If you haven't caught it, go back and check out last week's video on giving up a little bit of control and letting your spouse either make a mistake or the weight on that. And I think that's important when it comes to power exchange, because there are some things, and then you know what, when he drops or when he fails on things, when he's emotional, he just can't handle stuff, whatever, stress or whatever, then I'm up here with the power. So I'm like comforting him, loving on him, making love to him, whatever is comforting to him, helping him, giving him scripture, praying over him. And then sometimes when I'm down, his is up and he's praying over me and comforting me, and let's figure this out, babe. And I think that exchange back and forth, like one of you might be better at cooking, one of you might be better at making reservations, one of you might be better at finances, one might be better at cleaning the toilets, one might be better at doing the laundry. These are different things that it's okay to be better or not as better with. And I think that's also a power exchange, because you're still equal. There's no one better than another. It's just you've exchanged power on different things in your household. And you've told people in our marriage coaching so many times, because wives are like, he never does anything around here. He never does this, blah, 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 blah. Make a chore list and keep everybody stick to it. What do you want to do? Here are 5 things that in the house that need to get done because we both live here. What can you do? Well, I actually really like vacuuming. I can do that. Put my headphones in and I'll do it. Great. You are in charge of that now.
I have a robot for that. The other thing with power exchange with outside of the bedroom is that you will notice when you go through crisis that one person will take control and take the power while the other person drops. Yeah. And I'll talk about drop in a second. And then as that other person comes out of a drop, then it leaves room for the person that just took control to drop.
Yes.
Okay, so...
Oh my gosh, that's such a comforting, secure place to be.
So it is just kind of both of you carrying all of the stuff on the plate.
Yeah.
You're just passing the plate back and forth while the other person isn't dropping. So power exchange can be and should be used throughout other portions of your marriage.
Yeah.
Now, drop. Drop is important to understand. We call it drop, and it can happen after the first time you do power exchange, or if you just have a real emotional time together, or when you're experiencing new sexual things together, that one person may be built up and then have a real huge emotional drop.
Let's say like on a Sunday night, you guys, either you could be having an amazing sex time, or you're really emotional, you're pouring your heart out, you're having an amazing conversation. The next morning you have to get up and go to work and you're like, I'm not in that headspace, and I'm not exactly sure what to do.
You're
almost
exhausted.
Feel like you're exhausted emotionally, and you're not too sure what to do. The last thing you need, let's say if it was Tim that went to work and he's dropping, is for him to come home at night and me go, oh my gosh, the kids were crazy and we're late for work, and he's still from the drop. And it can work both ways. I need to be sensitive to that, and he needs to tell me, babe, I'm dropping today. Great. What can I help you with? It's not a bad thing. It's just for me to be gracious and kind. And what do you need? Just loving kindness? Do you need, just a big glass of ice water when you get home? Do you need a glass of wine? What is it that I can help you with? And blowjob, whatever can help you ease you back up to a normal, emotional, stable level. And
that can happen in and out of the bedroom when trying or not trying other things. Yeah. There's just notice that if you're trying something new, especially tying up your husband, for example, there may be an emotional issue that happens there that wife, you need to be aware of.
Yes.
That, okay, I broke my husband. No, you didn't break him. He just is experiencing an emotional drop. Yeah. We had drama in our house, and I had a friend graciously helping. And during that entire time, him helping me for 2 to 3 hours, I was literally fighting back tears the entire time. I don't think he ever noticed, but he'll know now. Just because I was going through an emotional drop through a crisis that we had with a contractor. So, and I didn't have to communicate all of that to Tammy.
No, he just looked at me.
I just looked at her and said, drop. And she immediately understand Tim is stressed out at the emotional level that he can't cope anymore and is on the verge of tears. And so what she did graciously is she engaged with my friend a little bit more so I could go compose myself. It took about a minute and then came back in again. And so it's really important for you to have those conversations about, here's my emotional state. I am dropping because we had this amazing thing that we did last night, or I am dropping because our contractor flipped out of his ever-loving mind, and I'm having an issue. That was my issue, but you understand. A huge issue, or family issues, or your kids did something that causes an emotional drop and they disobeyed, or they stole something, or whatever. But yeah, both of you are going to experience emotional drops, so it's important to discuss it. And it's also important to actually discuss how to be in that emotional drop. And unfortunately, I'm going to say you're going to go through it a few times before you go, all right, when I'm in this state, these are the things that I need.
Yes. It's all communication.
Right.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And it's okay, and not to fear the drop, but just to recognize that it's actually there. And so a lot of the times women experience drop, and they'll actually experience it in the middle of sex when they start getting emotional and crying during sex. They're literally dropping in the middle of sex, and they're just, I'm done. I don't have any more emotions or anything else to give you. Just, this is all of me. And I would say that a lot of times women want us men to get to that point to where, it's okay, guys, to cry during sex.
Absolutely.
It takes a lot for us to get there, and a lot of patience on the wife part, but it's an amazing intimate time to where it's just, look, you not only have me physically and emotionally and spiritually, but you have every part of me. I can't hold anything back anymore here. And that's the basis of intimacy during sex or during your marriage any other way. So that's a big deal to know what drop is and to walk through drop very, very carefully so that you could support one another. And like I said, power exchange can cause emotional drop. Just know what it is beforehand. And sometimes just putting a name on it really, really helps.
This is true. Yeah. Very true. Yeah. And I think it's important to know that I think women, after an emotional drop, you probably don't even realize you're doing it. You might go to your friends and talk about it or talk it through. Guys might do the same thing. Talk with the guys at work about something, maybe not emotional, but they'll bring it up in different ways. And you need
Let me tell you what I did to my wife last night.
Right. But you need to talk to each other about it. This is the same team.
Yeah.
Not me and someone else in the world, not him and anyone else in the world. This is the same team. And when you start realizing that you guys can pick each other up and keep going, and like Tim said, this plate business and hold it and everything, it is a beautiful harmony of being connected and just in every way. I love it. This is a long one.
It is, but it's really important.
It is.
And one more thing, I don't ever want you to get confused with power exchange or power play. I don't want you to confuse that with, in the Bible it says the women will be after their husband's heart, or control over their husband. This isn't the wife being allowed to control her husband or to control the relationship.
Yeah.
This is more of having fun with, hey, you're in charge tonight. Let's see what you can come up with sexually. And you're in charge tonight. Let's see what you can come up with sexually. And hey, let's try these things. So it's not about control over the relationship at all, because in an aspect, I'm still held accountable for what everyone does in my family on Judgment Day. Mm-hmm. It's about coming alongside and having a fun experience with one another and playing with the fact that, hey, honey, I know that you worked really, really hard and I've made you abstain the entire week. I'm going to tie you up and rock your world. And that's where the fun begins. It's not an argument over who has control over the relationship.
You rock my world.
Yeah, I do. All right, one more thing, last thing, and I'll try to get this done in like a minute.
This is our longest video.
It is the longest video because it's really important. Before you do power exchange or any kind of kinky BDSM play, it's really important that you know your limits, what you will do and what your partner will do. So on haveamarriage.com, on step 3, I posted today a list of sex acts, and there's
extensive,
over 100 of them.
Wow.
Go over them together. It'd be a great date night. It should bring up conversation.
Yes.
I didn't create this list. I found it. It was the most extensive list I could find. I removed all of the things that aren't healthy in a Christian relationship. So like pornography and other people. All of those have been removed. So you'll see the numbering is different just because we're not going to do that. It's a sin. Bad. Okay, so go through the list and have a conversation about each one. And you just kind of rate them 1 through 5. No, I will never do that. 5, I love that.
Yeah, 3 is like, give it a try.
2, Answer 2 when in doubt. I'll give it a shot. You know, let's see how that works.
So, go download that, print it out, take it out.
It's a PDF.
date. It really prompts a lot of conversation. Even we just sat on the couch and went through it, and it prompted a lot of conversation with us, and we talk about everything.
Yeah.
So it was fun.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's a fun thing.
It should be a fun experience.
This is the person you get naked with. You should not be embarrassed to talk about these things.
And the one thing that I'm going to say, and I write it in the article and I write it on the PDF, is that in no way should you make your partner feel ashamed of any act that they might want to try or get into.
As long as it's not a sin.
So as long as it's not a sin, but don't give them that look like, are you kidding me?
That's gross. Really? You
Right.
really want to do that?
That's a turn off, and that actually ends the conversation.
It scares both of you.
Right. Rather than,
Huh.
I wouldn't be into that, but if you
Let's
really
talk
want to
about
try
it.
it,
Let's
let's
talk
talk
that
about it.
through.
You know? Yeah. It's
Why do you want to do that?
It's more of a talking through point rather than you're sick and disgusting and get away from me. And nobody wants to actually communicate that to their spouse at all.
No, and nobody wants to hear that.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
She said it to me a lot. Anyways,
You're sick and disgusting.
so before you do power exchange, safe words, go through the sex list and have a lot of conversations and try it a few times. And you might end up liking it. Like she might really like when I take control and I'm the dominant one and that's the power exchange. Or I might like it if I had a really stressful week that she's like, I got you. Just chill out, relax, and you'll have a good time. Your massage will come with a happy ending. The best happy endings are with your wife. All right.
Yeah.
We love you guys. If you have any questions or other comments, we're happy to help them. You could follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and on our website, haveamarriage.com.